The Wally Show podcast is our daily radio show heard live through the WayFM app each morning and hosted by Wally, Gavin, and me, Betty Rock. For more fun, be sure to connect with us at wayfm.com/Wally.
The Wally Show podcast is brought to you by Colorado Christian University Online, where you can earn a degree online just like Betty Rock. You can learn more at ccu.edu/Wally. Things you didn't know you needed to know today. It's News-ish with Betty.
Americans who suffer from lactose intolerance aren't just suffering digestively, but financially as well when it comes to putting in their coffee order. Now, this is something I didn't even think about, but it's good that it's being brought to our attention. Major coffee chains like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts charge extra for customers who need a dairy substitute, like replacing regular milk with almond or oat milk. And the milk-challenged population is saying, no more!
Really?
They see this extra charge as unfair, and now both coffee chains are facing a class action lawsuit for discrimination.
Oh my gosh. This is not discrimination.
Well,
I get it. It's not fair in life's scheme of things. It stinks if you're lactose intolerant or you've got a gluten allergy. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's not fun.
Well, you might change your mind. I read a little bit more into this.
Okay, because let me tell you what my first initial reaction is.
Yeah.
This is lunacy. And because it costs more to get almond milk, and so that price always gets passed down to the customer. Now, am I wrong?
No.
Okay, then it's like that's just the cost. It stinks. It's
I know,
not fair.
but listen to
Diabetics have to get insulin, and that's not fair.
I'm glad you brought up diabetics.
Okay.
So let me go into this.
Sorry.
The attorney representing his non-dairy clients stated, quote, being able to drink milk is a choice for some people and it's not for others. Lactose intolerance is a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
What?
It is. Okay. So then he goes into further detail, and it makes a lot of sense. Dunkin', they already modify their drinks for their diabetic customers. So you're already offered like decaf, and that's no charge. A sugar-free option, that's no extra charge.
They don't cost more to make.
I'm just saying.
That's the thing.
That they are saying that just because we were born with a disability that we can't control, then we shouldn't be discriminated by for paying $2 extra every time we order coffee.
Like right now, if I'm listening, honestly, if I'm somebody that's in a wheelchair, for example, and I have to struggle to get in and out of my car to wheel myself to work, that's a disability.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm offended by somebody. I would be offended by this if there's like, I'm a disability, I'm lactose intolerant. No, it's a condition. You know, and it's not fair and it's not fun, but this is a God thing. Like, take it up with him. This is overstepping to me.
You're saying that the lawsuit shouldn't be against Dunkin' and Starbucks.
No.
It should be against the people that make the oat
No, there
milk or
should
the
be
almond
no
milk.
lawsuit. It's just, it is the way things are. You know, it's like if it costs more to make, like cauliflower pizza. People need that. It costs more, an insane amount of money more, which is not fair.
But it's good for you, and you're paying extra.
Or if you're gluten-free, you get that instead.
It's kind of like going to Whole Foods compared to Piggly Wiggly.
Right.
Like, you're going to have to pay more.
Because the reality is, though, like there's no guarantee in the Constitution anywhere that guarantees you milk in your coffee. You know, and like that's, and I know I sound so insensitive right now. I get it. I'm the most insensitive person on the planet.
You heard it here first.
But I'm really, 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 like when people start calling things disabilities and then suing and things like that over things that I don't feel truly are, like it's just that gets my blood going.
Uh-oh.
You know?
You don't need a coffee then.
No, I don't. Thank goodness I didn't have one, or else it would have been a whole lot worse, apparently. Uplifting WayFM, this is The Wally Show. Who's this?
My name is Janet, and I've just got to chime in on this stupid lawsuit thing. I am lactose intolerant, and I think that's the most ridiculous thing. I have ever heard.
Really? Okay, now, as soon as we finished that segment, the phone rang, and I went, okay, this will be somebody upset about my lactose intolerance comment. So I'm really surprised that you, being lactose intolerant, even see a lawsuit against Dunkin' and Starbucks for charging more for soy or almond milk. You see that is ridiculous. Okay, that gives me hope.
It does cost more to make it.
Yeah, but if you're in the car, let's say you're in the car with your friend and you both buy a caramel macchiato, and her caramel macchiato, even though y'all bought the same thing with the same size, hers is $2 less than yours, and it's because you were born with a condition that you can't control.
I bet it's not $2. I bet it's 2 cents. I bet it's like...
No. I looked it up in this article. It's around $2.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's significantly more, but it's like they can't help it. That's not anything in their control.
Well,
like I
also,
said,
you can't help it that you're lactose intolerant.
I love that you're arguing with the lactose intolerant lady.
Someone's got to.
Who's like, no, I don't think this is right for them to charge more. And you're like, no, they should. And you're not even lactose intolerant,
Someone's
Rock.
got to speak for them.
Yeah, the lady who is lactose intolerant is speaking for them.
I'm offended for you.
Stop speaking for her.
Oh, electronic mail.
Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. And Bianca hit me up and she said, hey, a couple weeks ago you shared a story about a lady who was sharing a perspective on the world, just kind of looking for advice. Now everything was bad and people are dying and you can't do anything about it. It was very hopeless email. And she says, well, tonight I stumbled across a short video where a gentleman gave some advice about this and I immediately thought of her. I love that people hear things and they'll pray for people and they think of them and they're like, hey, tell her this, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of like a family or a community.
Yeah, I really love that. She says, this guy mentioned how there's no room for gratitude and anxiety in the same place. He mentioned how the Bible even talks about it too, but to pray more prayers of gratitude, to train your brain to see gratitude instead. And I do understand that. Like, it's hard to be angry and grateful. It's hard to be jealous and grateful. It's hard to be anything negative and grateful. And so I get where this guy's coming from.
So he's saying that if we find ourselves maybe in a state of panic or if we're feeling anxious about something, instead we need to look for the positive, the things that we are thankful for.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter how small they are.
Sometimes finding one thing to be grateful for in the day, it leads to another thing and another thing, and it retrains your perspective. He says by doing this, he explains that you ground yourself in the present and in the presence of God, and which consoles your soul. And so the first thing we have to do when we have those thoughts is go to Jesus with our anxieties as they begin to mount, then to turn those over and give them to him, as it talks about in 1 Peter 5. And she says, personally, this is the only way I climbed out of a very dark place I was in. That's the other thing, too. I love when people share their personal story with something and how, okay, I'm not just telling you this, intellectually, from a YouTube video. I'm telling you this worked for me because I was in that same place you're at. And she says, I thank God he was there for me. I turned to him, and together with some support from my mom, we prayed to him, and I slowly was able to get better and shift my perspective or focus. And so maybe that might be your way out if you're in any kind of a place today where you're struggling with something or you're feeling like, everything seems hopeless as you look at the world, or maybe you're just stuck in your faith. Try this little exercise of gratitude, and maybe that'll be the thing that jumpstarts you and kind of gets you out of that place, just like it did for Bianca. So there you go. That's your email for today. Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. And a lot of times on Mondays, we do one word weekend. It's one word, and we try to guess what happened in your weekend based on that one word. And this is our one word winter weekend, because a lot of people were still held captive by the cold.
We were.
We were, for sure.
I mean, at one point, it was -1 degree.
Yeah.
That's
not
crazy.
We're not built for that in Tennessee.
We are not.
No. And we had ice. I still have a river of ice. I have a long sloping run into my neighborhood, a road, and it still has about 2 inches of ice on it.
Oof. Yep.
And it is slippery.
I was driving through our neighborhood, and there's just 2 streets before I get to clear stuff.
Yeah.
Those 2 streets are just me, just going
White
across.
knuckling it, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm seeing all these Teslas I could accidentally hit. I'm like, please don't.
I'm driving to church the other day, and I'm going up the hill really slow because I don't want to slip. And I there's a 4-way stop in my neighborhood. And so I see a guy coming up fast. I should have just stopped and let him go, but I was already there, and I went ahead and went. This knucklehead tries to pass me on the uphill ice. And he goes out to go around me and starts to slide and then tucks in behind me. I'm like, you're in a neighborhood, sir.
But you're going to church, and you got to, rein in your anger.
One would think.
Had to confess some things later.
Yeah, there was some prayer time, extra prayer time for Wally on that one. So, all right, one-word weekend. Here we go. My one-word weekend is busted. One-word weekend, busted. My one-word winter weekend word.
Okay. I think that you tried to go sledding.
Okay.
Fun.
And you didn't really have a sled, your sled wasn't working. So you're like, I'm going to try this baking sheet.
I've done stuff like that before in the past, even as an adult. You're right.
You greased it
Yep.
and everything.
Yeah.
And you ended up busting your bottom.
That would be a really good guess, but you're only partially right. It is bottom related.
Of course. Yeah, I feel like because
Gavin's like, I don't think I want to play anymore.
Yeah.
no, I'm good. But I mean, I assume you fell on your high knee at some point.
You slipped on ice.
Yes,
Just
I
slipping on
did.
ice.
You did?
I did.
Was it on video?
No.
Dang it.
I know. Thank you for your concern. You're showing as much concern as my wife did. My wife asked me to go out and get the mail, even though the mailman is not delivering mail
I don't think
because
I got any mail this
it's
last
too
week.
dangerous out there. But yet my wife is like, hey, would you go check the mail? And I'm like, yeah, I got to bring the trash cans in anyway, so sure. And I get out there, I get the trash cans in, I'm good, and I step on a piece of ice. My driveway is all ice, and I was being so careful, and I step on this piece of ice, and it looks like a cartoon. My arms are flailing backwards. My legs are going forward. I reach out for one thing to save me, which is my truck. My truck, I swear I think my truck moved. Like, it just kind of slid out of the way, so I couldn't touch anything. My hand just goes straight down the side of the truck, and I bust it right on my hip. My hip hurts so bad. And I walk inside, and I'm coming in really slow. And my wife, because I always play jokes on her, she thinks I'm messing with her. And so she's laughing at how I'm moving. I'm like, honey, I'm actually really hurt. And she's still laughing. I'm like, that's not helping.
Wow.
And then she's texting our friends, and they're laughing on text. I'm like,
gosh.
I am hurt here, people.
I honestly would give up a year of my life just for the video footage
I know.
of that fall.
It was pretty good. And the worst part of it is I kept showing my injury to her all weekend. And I'm like, is it bruised yet? Is it
Ew.
bruised yet? And it never bruised. The contusion is so deep. It's so deep.
The padding was
Yeah.
so much.
There's no bruising to prove that I am severely injured, maybe disabled.
Sure.
At one point, my soul left my body, and I grabbed it and pulled it back in and put it in when I was in there on the cold
so
snow.
dramatic.
I don't think so. All right, so 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. What is your one-word winter-related weekend word? All right, 855-33. Maybe you cheated death like I did. We'll take your call now. What do you got?
My one word is going to be convention center.
That's 2 words, but I'm not going to split hairs here. Could be a hyphen. So I'm going to say that you had a pipe burst in your house and you had to go to a convention center to stay because everything was so frozen.
Way off. I guess my 2 words through you're just like, let's just play with this one.
Betty Lou?
I'm going to say that your kids talked you into going to some ice.
Spectacular?
Yeah,
Gotta
like an
do with
event
winter, but
or
not
something.
ice. Definitely winter.
You went to some ice extravaganza at your local convention center and you froze to death and you felt the first nip of hypothermia.
No.
Okay, well, what was it then?
It was winter jam.
Oh, you went to Winter Jam. Oh,
I did, and it was the greatest thing. Oh, my gosh. It was, like, amazing.
Winter Jam is a really great concert. It's a good concert value. You get a bunch of bands for a pretty low price. I still remember meeting for King and Country years ago, before they had really made it big, at a Winter Jam, and it was freezing outside, and we had a heater, like a standing heater. We were rolling down the crowd as we talked to people to bring some heat to them, and they came out and they played little acoustic sets for people waiting in line. It was so cool.
It was -7.
No.
And it was only, oh, yeah.
Well, was it worth it?
Oh, it was worth it, and it was packed. There was over 30,000 people there. It was amazing.
Well, who was your favorite act out there?
Crowder, and I like new songs. Those were my two favorites.
You had a much better winter weekend than I did laying on my back in my driveway when I slipped on ice. So,
Yep.
well, thank you, girl. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
It's easy to let the fear of the unknown keep us from doing something that is good for us. But going back to school might not be quite what you think.
Yeah, one of my biggest fears going back to school was I'd have to watch a ton of online lectures, and I kind of have a problem staying awake during stuff like that. But it was so different than I had imagined and way better.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I was going to have to take a bunch of tests, which I am not a fan of. But instead, I was able to write papers, which for me was way better.
Plus, you have the flexibility to work in school around your work and life schedule. Another big fear I had is, what if I don't understand something? What do I do?
Yeah, CCU, they foster community with your classmates, and they are a great resource. And Colorado Christian University has very responsive online professors who are there to help you so you are never alone as an online student at CCU.
Learn more about how you can pursue your passion and find your calling with Colorado Christian University at ccu.edu. Colorado Christian University is a nonprofit impact partner committed to cultivating the mind without compromising the heart.
With so much drama in the news,
I hate drama, so there you go.
You love drama.
I know I do, right?
this is a drama-free zone. It's news-ish on The Wally Show.
So, if you've ever felt overwhelmed as a mom, I know I can relate. No, but I've talked to enough moms, and I have a wife who's a mom, and enough friends that, you know, you should see if there is a Hot Mess Express in your area, okay? This is a group that started in North Carolina as a Facebook group as a way for moms to help other moms, and now they have multiple chapters like across the country. And so the Hot Mess Express is just a group of moms who get together and they rescue other moms who are struggling. They say, we go into her space, we do her dishes, her laundry, organization.
Aww.
We basically just give her house a reset so that she can feel better.
I love that
Yeah.
because when you are taking care of a kid and you've got a house to keep up with, you've got food to cook, it can get overwhelming and you just don't know where to begin, where to start. And so for someone to just step in and take that weight off your shoulders, that's got to be so helpful.
Yeah, one new mom said the Hot Mess Express helped her out. It's just a blessing. She says, you know, I know y'all as moms, you just get so overwhelmed and on the day-to-day, and it just becomes the next day and the next day, and you fall behind. And I just feel blessed to have somebody do this. So I love their slogan, too. It says, it's not a handout, it's just a hand. And because it's hard to ask for things, I think, like to ask for help sometimes, especially moms, because of like mom guilt or judging.
Exactly, because I mean, the world conditions you to think that you're supposed to be able to handle this on your own. You shouldn't need help. But in all honesty, we all do.
Oh, yeah. And I looked to see where some of their chapters were. Charleston, we have a station there. North and South DFW, Fort Worth also, Denver, Louisville, a bunch of the cities we're in, they have chapters. And so if you're, you know, listening now, you're like, man, I need a little hand. You know, you might want to check it out. I checked it out to see if there was one near us for our friend Joy, who does middays.
Oh, that's right.
She would give Hot Mess Express a run for their money.
She could be the conductor of the Hot Mess Express.
Exactly.
Bless.
And so it's funny, they do have one here, and it's down near my area, but I think for Joy, they would make a road trip. They would need to.
Yes.
Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show, and Betty loves Dutch Brothers Coffee Company, and if this store is teaching their employees all across the country like this one store, I'm a big fan too then. In addition to making lattes and half-calf decaf caramelizers with soy milk, that's fun, they taught their employees to connect with the customers. And these two young men, Pierce and Evan, went above and beyond for a customer who was like obviously visibly not okay. She pulled up to the window and they're kind of talking to her, and they find out that her husband had just passed away.
Oh.
And instead of passing that moment by like, oh, stinks to be you, or, you know, just things that kids wouldn't always connect with, like, oh, I'm sorry, here's your order, you know, because it's a lot to handle when someone puts that on you. They did what they could do to help her.
The guys offered her a free drink, and then it just kind of happened.
They all grabbed her hand, bowed their heads, and together they said a prayer.
So basically, I just said, like, I really want her to, have peace over the situation, like help the mourning of her and her family.
There you go. And that's sometimes all you can do is pray for people, pray for peace,
That's so awesome. And they're going to give Chick-fil-A a run for their money.
I know.
Chick-fil-A, I haven't heard them praying for anybody for a while.
Never prayed for me. No. But I just thought this was cool. And the reason that was a news report on it is because the customer behind them took a picture of them reaching their hands out the window. 3 guys leaning out the window. I'm getting teary to pray for this lady.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And that he took a picture of it to, make sure that everyone knew about it. And he wasn't like honking, be like, hurry up.
Yeah, I know. And so it went viral for all the right reasons.
Yes.
And I love that the owner of Dutch Brothers, actually, the way she found out was she saw the post.
I just said, oh, that's great. I love that our company does that and that, we can show love out the window that way. And then I started studying a little more and I said, wait, that's Evan and Pierce. That's my Stan. Those are my kids. Brought me to tears right then.
Aww.
So there's a boss who's doing something right. There are families around these kids that are doing something right. Churches that are doing something right for these kids to help them become men of God at a young age that will serve them and the people that they interact with the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
But I just really thought it was cool that as strangers, these kids prayed for these ladies. And so it brings up the conversation that I want to have with you. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's the number. You can always be on the show that way. Have you ever had a stranger pray for you? Because it might be weird and sometimes it might be like so comforting that somebody that you don't know reaches out in your moment when you're having a moment, like this lady did. She didn't see that coming today, and it probably was just what she needed. And so I'm really curious if that happens more than I think it does, So if that's ever happened to you, I'd love to hear the story. Has a stranger ever prayed for you? 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. Have you ever had a stranger pray for you?
I have. So I work in the restaurant industry as well. In 2020, when COVID was really bad, I had some guests come in that I did not know, and I was having a really bad day, had been walking in the wilderness for years, had kind of turned into the prodigal daughter, and this customer asked me if she could pray for me. Long story short, we ended up praying. I sat with them for probably 2 hours while I was at work, her just ministering to me and telling me about how much Jesus loved me and how I was a daughter of the King. And I ended up rededicating my life to Christ, and ever since then, I've been walking with him.
That is absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Now, bad for your other tables that needed a refill.
Yeah.
Okay, Wally, taking it back to a serious note, was she asking to pray for you just because, or could she tell something was wrong?
I think it was both.
I love that she took the time for what you needed and prayed for you, and actually to see it make that big of a difference in your life. Because sometimes we think, getting involved with somebody's life, it's a little messy, or, what good is this going to do? You're living proof that being intentional and following, because I'm sure it was kind of the leading of God on her heart too, and so her following that paid off in a big way. Once again, the people that didn't get their drinks for 2 hours, not so much for them, but everybody else, it's a win.
Oh, my word.
Have you ever had a stranger, complete stranger, Marie, pray for you?
As a matter of fact, I was living up in Georgia at the time, and I was actually getting money out to go see my grandmother because she was gravely ill, and we'd been called to come see her. Well, while I was waiting in line, I got a phone call that my grandmother had passed.
Oh, no.
And one of the tellers who usually took care of me came over, pulled me aside. I told them what had happened, and they just prayed for me for about 5 minutes, for me and my family. And then a week after I'd gotten back, I checked my mail, and they had sent me a condolence card with a prayer as well.
Oh, wow. That's great. See, and a lot of people are like, well, why do you still go into a bank? You can do it all online. I go in because I like the people, and this is great to see people at a regular business. It's not a Christian business, but Christians are in these businesses living out their faith day to day, and it made a difference in you too, huh?
It made a huge difference. It made it a little bit easier, knowing that, someone had prayed for my grandma.
And I admire your restraint too. When they're like, "Is there anything else we can do for you?" And I'd be like, $1,000 would really help the pain. I mean, it's a bank, right? Starbucks would give me a free coffee.
Well, I thought they went above and beyond with the condolence card a week later.
You're absolutely right. That's fantastic. Well, Marie, thank you for being on the show with us. I love your story, and it just goes to show that we can actually make a difference by just taking a few minutes out of our day and living out our faith with people.
Exactly. I was so grateful to them, and I still bank with them.
Monday School is what Wally learned at church in 3 minutes or less. Think of it as like the Twitter version of church.
We've been talking about heaven and what that will be like, and you can't have this conversation without looking at the book of Revelation. It was written by John, and this is where God revealed to him things about heaven. And one of those things is that there will be no more tears or no more fears in heaven. I do hope that tears for fears will be there, though. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Nice.
That'd be great.
Well done.
Thank you very much. But everything is going to be new, and it even says that there will no longer be a curse. And the curse is referring to this, that moment when sin entered the world with Adam and Eve back in the day. There'll be no more sin. And think about living in a world where we're not constantly fighting against sin. And not only in ourselves, but if you look at the chaos of the world, that's all sin-driven, and you've got everybody out there trying to get their own and being selfish and all the sin of self. If everybody's not doing that, that's where total peace comes in.
Right.
What we can't accomplish here can be accomplished there, which is so worth looking forward to. In heaven, it says you'll be in perfect relation, and not only with others, but with God. Because we were created to be in a relationship with God, but we mess that up all the time. And remember when they sinned in the garden, and we were talking about that, the curse, and they hid from God? That's what we do. We put a barrier between us and God all the time because of our own behavior. But in heaven, there's no barrier between us and God, and so when we get it right here on earth, with God, it feels good. Imagine that feeling magnified 1,000,000 times by being in perfect relation with Him. I can't even fathom that, honestly.
I know it's hard for you to experience because you're always being so bad.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I don't know what this is like, But speaking of relation, the question that came up that a lot of people ask, will we still be married in heaven? And Jesus actually addressed this when he was asked by some religious leaders. They were hoping to trap him with like a multi-marriage scenario. And in Matthew, he says, we're not going to be married, but we will be more like the angels. For some people, sadly, they're probably glad to hear that.
That's true.
Honestly, if we're being honest. But for me, I'm sad that I wouldn't be married to my wife. But when you think about it, we get married to experience love. And even at its best here, the best it could possibly be, it's still not a perfect love. Imagine what it would be like to feel perfect love without agenda, without condition, without pain. To love and to be loved in the way that God first designed it would be amazing and fulfilling beyond all belief. And so that's kind of what we have to look forward to. So there you go.
Yay! So it won't matter about your marital status if you're single or married.
No.
Which I like.
Yeah, there you go. No one's going to judge you in heaven. Right. There's old single Betty.
Right, exactly.
All right, that's going to do it for your Monday School for today.
News-ish is one part news and one part ish.
This is what I use. I don't use my brain. I use my mouth.
It's right there in the title. It's The Wally Show.
What you got, Gavin?
One phrase that I associate with the people of the older aged community is when...
What do you consider older aged?
How old are you?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, okay.
I want to hear your answer first before you suck up.
I'm going to go 65 plus.
Fantastic. That's what I would say too.
Now,
is elderly?
Yeah. Is elderly.
Okay.
To me. I feel like you can still have your youthfulness.
Yes.
Well into your
vitality.
I would say once AARP starts reaching out, then it's elderly.
Well, I'm done for.
Well, I'm curious if you've said this before, and not that you're old, but the phrase where it's like, oh, I think it's going to rain later. I can feel it in my knees.
Oh, yeah. I've actually heard that from old people before. And my wife, too, I've even heard her say that. Because her hips are bad.
Yes.
And she gets this feeling in her hips that it's going to rain.
I hear it, and I think of it as being this old wives' tale. It's just this thing that people say, and you're like, oh, like sure you do. But apparently they did like this study, and 1 in 4 people say that they feel like aching in their joints and knees and a headache potentially coming on when storms come by. And apparently there actually is science to back this up. When a storm is on the way, the air pressure drops.
Okay.
And that can cause the tissue in your body to swell up and irritate your joints, especially if you have arthritis. So,
that's what my wife has in her hip.
Yeah, exactly. So, my grandpa saying that it's, going to storm later and I'm looking up at a clear sky, I'm probably going to start listening to
But
that
he was
more.
right, yeah, because, the barometric pressure dropping, that makes total sense that there's some science to it.
I'm very concerned about this news story because Wally just recently took a fall.
I did.
That hurt his hip/bottom.
My rear end, yeah.
And so I have a feeling he's going to be like, my rear end is hurting. That means a storm is coming.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to check the weather app anymore. I'm just going to ask you how you're feeling.
How's your rear end? It's going to blow. No, I'm in the storm.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show. We're going to do a little thing called Getting to Know You, because I realize there are people that just start listening to the show every day. We get new people in all the time, and they might not really know who we are and things like that. So from time to time, we'll do this here to give you an idea better who is talking to you and with you. So here's the question for Getting to Know You for you, Betty and Gavin. Sights you want to see before you die. For me, I'm getting closer to that, and so it's a more serious question for me.
You're trying to knock some stuff out?
Yeah, I got to get on it. You guys, it's still, you got time, So, Gavin, what is a sight you want to see before you die?
I would like to see, and this isn't like a location per se, but in the future, my wife and I, whenever we have a kid for the first time, I really want to see my kid play a sport.
Nice.
And I want to see son or daughter scoring a goal in a soccer game, because that was the sport that I played when I was a kid and I loved it for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's just something that I picture and it makes my heart flutter.
I love that. That's good.
That's what I want. That's like one of those big things I want to see.
Well, I hope that your kids are not a disappointment to your family.
Yeah.
As maybe you were. I don't know. Come on. Getting to know you. So there you go. Betty Lou, what is something you want to see before you die?
I know this is going to sound crazy.
Okay.
But I don't think you would expect any less. I want to be able to go to Roberts Prairie Park.
What is that?
Roberts Prairie Park?
What is that?
It's where you can go and pet wild prairie dogs.
Oh, yes. I would love that.
That's perfect.
So they give you these peanuts and stuff.
Yes.
And then you can go out, and they're so used to being fed that you can just go out into the wild, and they come up to
and
you.
feed prairie dogs?
Yes.
Where did you find this?
That's so cute.
I found it on TikTok. There was like a video that came through one time, and I was like, that looks amazing.
TikTok is the worst for this kind of stuff because I want an otter now, and my wife will not budge.
I saw another video with otters.
Yeah.
Precious.
Yeah. There are places that you can go, like in
pet an otter?
Yeah.
I've seen those.
So that would be good. I'd like to do that too.
Yeah.
I think if I was asked this something I'd like to see before I die, I think I'm going to go with I'd like to see Betty come to the Lord. Like that was
sir.
Get out of here.
Sir, that's rude. And
getting to know you. I'm just
I'm
kidding.
I'm going to show you one save.
Exactly. I'm just kidding. But I think I'll tag along with you to go pet some prairie dogs.
Yeah.
Pretty great. Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. Is it too much to ask?
Yes.
Thank you. The other day, we have a prayer meeting every other week here at work, and you break out into small groups, and you get people's prayer requests, and you pray for each other. And it's a really good thing. Small group prayer stuff for me, I'm not even, I struggle with that at small group, my church small group. Like, hey, do you need anything to pray for? No, I'm good. It's always my thing. I'm good. I could be sitting there with a leg missing that is just plopped onto the floor, and they'd be like, can we pray for you for anything, like down around your knee area? And I'd be like, no, I'm good. Everything's fine. So it's just kind of how I'm wired, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we go in and we do our prayer thing, and everybody starts sharing their prayer requests here in our small group at work. and one after another, go. And usually in meetings I fall asleep. But I did not. I stayed awake, and I had
like a big boy should.
Yeah, and more than that, I actually had remembered what people said, because that's another thing. I drift, and so sometimes even in small group at church, I've had to be honest before. They're like, "Hey, would you pray us out?" And I'm like, "I got to be honest, I missed half of that." And so again, none of this makes me look good. But is it too much to ask? I paid attention. I knew everything that was going on.
Good job.
And then they bust out, "Hey, Wally, why don't you close us out? We'll have..." Well, actually, they didn't say that. Betty's like, "Wally will close us out. You volunteered me," which you're the worst.
I voluntold you.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay. And so they're like, "Oh, well, a couple of us will pray first if you want, but then you just bring it home, all right, the closer. And bring it to the Lord, Wally." So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I thought, okay, maybe one person will toss up, a prayer here, do one thing. Oh, no. One person goes, "Okay, that was great," took up that request. Another person goes, takes up that request. Another person goes, takes up two of them, takes up the remaining two requests. So is it too much to ask? If you ask someone to close in prayer, leave them one prayer request. Because now I'm out here just hanging in the wind with nothing.
I will say, even though you were very perturbed about the whole situation, I got a good kick out of it. I loved the whole situation. But you handled it very well.
Thank you.
Even though you had nothing to pray about.
Nothing to pray for that we had just talked about.
You still came up with words to say, and it sounded like you really cared, and you were genuine about what you said.
Thank you.
I say kudos to you, sir.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Despite
that.
working with nothing.
I know. I feel like a comic that just showed up with no act. I'm like, okay, I got to improvise. Let's go to the crowd.
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is my thing. Is it too much to ask that if there's ever a situation where you're asking someone to pray, throw them a bone, leave them one request? It should be an unwritten rule, okay? Just tonight at small group, because I got a small group tonight too, and if you're going to small group, please do that for the person that has to close it out, all right? Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. Betty and Gavin, I'm curious if you have seen kind of the debate going on. There's all this cold weather going across the country, and snow and ice and things like that. And people in southern states don't always handle the cold really well. And people in northern states and maybe Midwestern states, it gives them a chance to feel superior. Have you seen this? Like,
oh, yes, I have.
The debates and...
Yes, and sometimes it kind of irks me.
Okay, as a Southern lady.
Yes, because they act like they're judging us, like they're better than us.
Right, well, they are. When it comes to... And I'm a Southern guy, but when it comes to driving in the snow, living in the snow, we don't know what to do.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that you need to just hold it over our heads and judge us and act like we're dummies.
Yeah, well, we are. No,
we're not.
Here's the thing. I know that people have been debating. My wife had the same thing. She's like, man, people are getting mad about this. And the Northerners just telling us how to drive, in the snow and stuff. And so people were getting upset about it online. And I don't want people to get upset here. So this is a chance here for you. If you're a Northerner, okay, without judgment, you can tell us what are the tips for driving in snow and ice. I would assume one I've kind of picked up. I don't know. I'd love to hear somebody tell me if this is right or not. But don't brake on the downhill. I shift my car into low, so it kind of crawls downhill when you're going down ice. Because once you hit your brakes, you're sliding, you're in it then, And so I try not to apply hard brake pressure on the way down. So maybe that's a tip. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're so superior to us, well, then, tell us how to do it.
Do us a favor. Use some small words, okay? That will help us out, too, so that we could really grasp what you're saying.
He's speaking for himself, not me.
855-33-WAY-FM. If you wanted people to hear your advice and they just were going to argue with you online and you didn't want to jump into that, this is a safe place. I would love to hear your driving tips for Southerners from Northerners right now. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show. Tyler, welcome. Are you from the North originally?
Yes.
Okay, good, because we're having this conversation. There's a debate online about people in the South being mad at people from the North telling them how to drive in cold, snowy, icy conditions, because, Lord help us, we just don't do it well here. I mean, we can pull a tractor like nobody's business, but, we don't drive in the snow well. So what is your driving tip as a Northerner for Southerners, Tyler?
4-wheel drive.
You know what? My truck, I have a Tacoma. It's not 4-wheel drive.
Not a truck.
It is a truck. It's a little truck, but it does not have four-wheel drive, and it's light in the bed. It slides everywhere. My wife's little baby Bronco with all-wheel drive does better than that. I want a four-wheel drive truck. You're absolutely right, Tyler.
Have a good one.
All right, Leah, as a northerner, what should we do with southerners driving in the snow?
I have two words, and that's drive slower. It's real simple.
It's funny because we have a slow pace of life, but for some reason we get behind the wheel and we're gunners, you know. But you're right. I was leaving my neighborhood on an uphill, icy road, and somebody in my neighborhood tried to pass me, and I was like, that's got to be a northerner. I was so mad. I got you down, Leah. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Maris, what is your advice from a northerner to southerners about driving in the snow?
All right, so I'm from Montana. And one of the big things that we do is we carry kitty litter to help us if you're spinning out and to also give you a little bit of weight so you're not as light in the back part of your car or truck.
Oh, that's what it's for. I thought it was for if you got so scared and made a mess in your seat, you would use the kitty litter to clean it up.
Well, that's the secret reason, but the other one just sounds better.
All right, Sam, where are you from?
I am from Brooklyn, New York.
That qualifies as a northerner for sure for helping us southerners learn how to drive in the snow and ice.
Got to park the car.
Yeah, so Sam, what would you recommend for us? What would you say this is how you do it?
Well, first off, I think this is a great topic because I do hear it all the time when I'm down here, right? I have been one of those people to kind of laugh to see the southerners freak out. And, you know, I've seen people when their car slides just a little bit, the look on their eyes is, this is it. This is the moment.
I'm meeting Jesus today.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
What's the best thing to do if your car is sliding?
All right, so if my car slides a little bit, I tap the brake a little and then course correct, but I don't do anything extreme. I don't slam the brake. I don't hook the wheel. And I've seen that happen.
Slam the brake?
No, he said don't slam the brake.
Push on the brakes with both feet. Scream!
Hey, listen, I've seen people slam the brake with their hands. They reach down.
Well, Sam, we appreciate your northern driving advice, and it's well received today.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.
Attention, please. Uplifting Way FM. Celebrities are just like you and me, except for the mansions, tigers, and sequins. It's the Rock Report with Betty Rock.
Scientists say that until we reach the age of 40, our taste buds are changing every 2 weeks.
Oh,
what?
Interesting.
Yes, that means that once you get to Wally's age, ancient, there's no changing it. You're stuck liking what you like.
And I'm there. I'm good, and I'm totally good with that.
I feel like you've been there, though, for years.
Yeah. My wife's taste buds change. Or I think it's more like a place. Like she'll go to a chicken place for years, and then she gets one bad experience, and she's out. And then, I'm like, we can't go there anymore? Nope. Okay.
Is there ever been a redeeming situation?
Yes, they will come back around.
Oh, they will. Okay.
But here's the moving target of it. We never know when. And so, it's trying.
She's blessed to have you. That's the one reason.
Yes, that's
only
very true.
reason that she's blessed.
She's very lucky. I'm patient.
So what gives children the excuse or the audacity to be such a picky eater at such a young age? That's the question TV personality Chrissy Teigen is probably asking herself when it comes to her 5-year-old son, Miles. In a recent interview, she admits her second-born, Miles, has yet to eat a vegetable.
Oh, what?
Living the dream.
And it's not for her not trying. She claims she tried to give him a piece of broccoli by hiding it under some fried rice.
We found it.
And when Miles found it, he was so upset.
Oh, yeah. My mom used to try that all the time. And then I ended up where I had to, I'm sure you were raised this way too. Well, you're going to sit at the table till you finish that.
Yeah.
And you had no choice. You wait them out.
It's
but
either
my
that
mom,
or starve.
Yeah. And my mom was patient. My mom would be like, I got all night. I got nowhere to go. Okay. And so I would try ketchup on everything and like anything just to get it down. I'm still like that.
I know.
And as an adult, I don't have to eat them, so I don't care. But the mom, like, judgment on a mom not feeding her kids vegetables has to be pretty intense for Chrissy.
Well, she did say that his school actually called her to talk about his picky eating.
They turned her in.
Yeah. And she's like, well, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. I know that there are cookbooks and recipes out there for moms with picky kids, and it's ways to, like, simple ways to hide vegetables into everyday things that they actually do like.
We had a friend that when her second daughter was young, all she wanted was French fries. That's all she wanted. And she fed her a lot of French fries. And you're thinking, oh, that had to have messed her up. And she ended up going on to be like a pre-Olympic gymnast.
What?
Like, yeah,
See, science is wrong.
I know, man. Like, I get it. Like, when you're a parent trying to get your kids to eat, you're just trying anything,
Yeah.
And so some kids they're not gonna like it. But maybe if their taste buds change, you have to keep trying.
Yes.
And because maybe one day they find something, or
like
just,
your wife.
Yeah, just deep fry everything and try that. Like that's what I would do.
Deep fry broccoli.
I've had deep fried stuff that I shouldn't have liked, but I was like, oh, it's not too bad. I can get through this, So there you go. There's your tip: is if they won't eat it, deep fry it. Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show, and there's a coach for everything, it seems like. You've got a fitness coach, a lifestyle coach, and I found a friendship coach. Not that I'm using them, but there's a friendship coach out there that you wouldn't think, oh, that's a job. All right. But like her point was trying to make friends as an adult can be kind of difficult. When you're a kid, you show up on the playground, you're like, do you like bikes? I like bikes. We're best friends, But as an adult, it gets a little bit harder. And so she had some advice, like socialize your interests. So if you're into knitting, go. Weird. Join a knitting circle, or if you like to bowl, join a bowling league.
Find people that enjoy the same things that you do.
Yeah, because then you've already got something in common. Another thing was become a regular somewhere. Hey, Dan, like when you walk in and they just know you and stuff like that. Because
everybody knows your name.
It's good advice too, whether it's a coffee shop or church or a park. Like they call them familiar strangers. You become familiar with these different strangers that also, again, like the same place or the same thing, and you might strike up some conversations that way. Leverage the help of your friends who are like super outgoing. And they're the ones that always are like, hey, let's do this. And they hook people up. Oh, I got a friend. You'd love them. Talk to them about this. Like, use those people to get more plugged in. And just say, hey, I want to get more plugged in. And they'll usually be like, oh, here, we're going to do this. You should do this. You have a couple friends like that are outgoing.
And wait, are you saying I'm the...
Well, no, you have a tendency to stay at home.
Oh, that's true.
You know this about you.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I have heard, too, like, if you're an introvert, if you can just be adopted by an extrovert,
yes, exactly.
Then you're doing a lot better. Like every extrovert is looking for an introvert to adopt.
Oh, absolutely. And so then this one's like, try talking to strangers. Okay, try go missing. I don't know.
Yes, that's what happens on Dateline.
Yeah, but you know what? You never know. Sometimes in a safe environment and you get a vibe with someone, it's like you talk to someone, you're like, oh, they seem pretty cool,
That's how Keith Morrison starts your episode. He had a good vibe.
I've talked to some strangers that I was like, oh, they're really nice people. I got to know them a little bit.
Wonder what they thought of you.
Well, like, okay, for example, my Canadian friends, the Clausens, we were on a cruise and just started talking to them. They're the greatest people. I love these people. They've redeemed my faith in Canada, and so we still talk.
Justin Bieber did that for me.
Yeah. Oh, stop it. Okay. So this is what I want to talk about, with you. Like, what is a way that you as an adult have made friends? Like, my wife and I, when we moved to California and had no friends, we used our daughter as bait. We trolled with her because she was super cute. We put her in a stroller. We'd walk up and down the thing, like the street, like we were getting exercise. And we met people like, oh, she's so cute. Oh, yeah. How old are yours? Oh, really? We have kids, And we have lifelong friends now because of that. They don't even know we were fishing.
Yeah.
And now we're like best friends forever.
I think that's what single guys do with puppies.
Yes.
Go out with a puppy and you can find a girl.
Oh, absolutely. It would work on Betty for sure. Or a cat. Yeah. So what is your strategy or what have you done to make adult friends? 855-33-WAY-FM. You might really be helping out somebody, especially if they're an introvert. 855-33-WAY-FM. So what did you do to make friends as an adult?
So last year, actually, I went through a transition period. God removed my friends. I was taking my walk in Christ seriously. So he stripped me of all of my friends. And I was like, oh, Lord, I'm lonely. What am I going to do? I go to Mosaic Church here in Clarksville. So I joined Connect Group. One group in particular is the Women Warriors Group. And joining that group, I got linked and connected with like-minded women who was taking the same walk of faith that I was taking as well. I strongly suggest connect groups or join anything at the church that's going to link you with people that have the same interests as you, but also want to chase after God with you as well.
There you go. That is great advice. Real quick, I need to know the name of it. Did you say Women Warriors or Women Warriors?
Women Warriors.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you said Women Warriors, and I'm like, where can I sign my wife up? So, Laura, what tactics have you employed in trying to make a friend as an adult?
At a party, I met one of my best friends. We were commiserating about how awkward the party was, and we weren't really having a great time. And we started talking about books that we liked and decided we both liked the Little House on the Prairie books. About a week later, we had already made a plan to go on a road trip together and go see Laura Ingalls Wilder's house.
Wow,
so
that escalated.
From awkward to let's be besties.
That's funny. So you find somebody at a party that looks as awkward as you, or that doesn't want to be there, or just it seems like, on the outside, and you're like, okay, you're going to be my new best friend.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Not a bad strategy, though, because then there's at least one thing you can talk about. Hey, this is pretty awkward, right? So that's a good advice. I love it. Find the person that looks like you at a party and make it your life mission to be their best friend. Great idea. I appreciate it, girl. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's the end, but it doesn't have to be. Check out our Aftercast. It's new stuff you didn't hear in the podcast. Be sure to rate us on iTunes as well as connect with us on social media. Just search Wally Show. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group made exclusively for you potties, the link is in the description of this podcast. Thanks to Colorado Christian University Online for supporting what we do.